What up, guys? The Bench Buddies are back with my March Madness Sweet 16 re-ranking of all the teams that made it here. And let's just jump right into it. 16 through 13, you kind of have your Cinderella teams, if you want to say, at this point in the season. Arkansas being a 10 seed, beat Kansas in a close one, and then I don't want to say destroyed St. John's. They beat them by 9, pulled away late. And Arkansas deserves to be here. They've played some really good basketball. John Calipari knows how to coach. They get a tough Texas Tech team in their game in the Sweet 16. Ole Miss with some upsets. I think a lot of people took UNC to actually beat them in the first round because UNC blew out to get into the round, blew them out, and then Iowa State, they blew out Iowa State. Now they get Michigan State, and I think that's the toughest test they're going to face. A team that is kind of destined to go to the Final Four, and give them credit though. Chris Beard and company in Ole Miss are playing some really good basketball right now, and that's why they're jumping up here into 15. Purdue and Michigan to round out the Big Ten. Both these teams, I think, could be in either spot. But Michigan had a dramatic win in the first round against UC San Diego, down with like 6 minutes to go against Texas A&M. Pulled out a huge victory there as they just dominated. Roddy Gale hitting clutch three after clutch three, a career day from him to get him into the Sweet 16 to face Auburn. Purdue, Braden Smith are bust at this point. Beat High Point by 12, beat McNeese by 14. They get a tough game in Houston, who can play some really good defense and shut down your best player. So I think that'll be a matchup to watch. If Braden Smith gets shut down, then I think this Purdue team gets eliminated. 9 through 12, BYU jumps all the way up to 9, even being a 6 seed. And, they beat VCU by 11, or sorry, by 9, beating the 11 seed. And I don't think that was too much of a shock, but everyone thought that was going to be a back and forth game, which it was. Then they beat Wisconsin by 2. And I think that was more of a shock than a lot of people saw. Not too many people had BYU going to the Sweet 16, but they get Alabama here in that round. Maryland, travel, no travel, whatever. I'm on the side of you don't let a travel determine that game. You let the shot determine that game. If he misses, nobody even says anything about it, but he made it. Obviously, here we are. But they get Florida, and I think they match up very well with Florida. If there's any team to beat them, I think it's probably Maryland that's left in their region. And, you got to have a little luck on your side this March, and Maryland definitely has that. Arizona, a blowout win against Akron. They got Oregon in the round of 32 and beat them by 2. It was a great game. Caleb Love's beaten Duke as well, and they get Duke this round in the Sweet 16. Now, Caleb Love has their number. Will he have their number for the third straight time is the big question. Kentucky at 12 destroyed Troy. I don't want to say destroyed Illinois, but really held control in that game for a while. They get Tennessee, who they beat twice this year. It is always hard to beat a team 3 times, but if there's any team to do it, I think it would be Kentucky. They have their number, not just this year, in recent years as well. 5 through 8, you get all those other teams. You get Tennessee, Bama, Michigan State, and Texas Tech. All these teams got here with some blowouts. I know Michigan State, struggled in the first half against New Mexico, but really they dominated in the second half. Bama, high scoring yet again. They love putting up 90 plus this year. Tennessee, I think, is putting together some complete performances on both ends of the ball, both ends of the court, and I think they're ready for that matchup against Kentucky. They're looking to get over that hump and beat them. Michigan State, like I said, tough test in Ole Miss, but I think they're destined to go to the Final Four. And they could play Michigan if Michigan upsets Auburn. They beat Ole Miss. It's a battle of Michigan to go to the Final Four. Texas Tech, UNCW destroyed them. Played a team that Drake that upset Mizzou, beat them. Now they get a 10 seed in Arkansas. So the Texas Tech beats them. Their path to the Elite Eight has been pretty easy on paper. 1 through 4, no surprise here. It's my rankings coming into the tournament, and it's going to stay the same. You could argue Duke is at number 1 just because they've blown out the last 2 teams, where Houston had to struggle a little bit, but they showed resiliency against Gonzaga to get that win. And I think that's the biggest matchup in that region was that Houston-Gonzaga game, because I think whoever won that matchup is going to go to the Final Four. And let's see if that pans true here in Houston. Duke, like I said, blowing out teams. Arizona, Caleb Love has Duke's number, but Cooper Flag versus Caleb Love, that's going to be popcorn. Love to see that. Florida at 3, escape UConn. But this UConn team, back-to-back champions, they play very well in the tournament setting, and that's a huge win for Florida. I think that speaks volumes to how good the SEC has been this year. The SEC was a weaker conference. I think UConn wins that game, and they're into the Sweet 16. And I say that because Florida has played a ton of games like that this year in the SEC. And when you have that battle test of day in, day out, beating up in your conference opponents, it proves just for these kind of games. And I think that's why Florida won. Auburn to round out my top four. Alabama State, they were down early, but pulled away late. Creighton, kind of same thing. But against Michigan, I think they gotta get up early because Michigan, is a very interesting team. They can do well on both sides of the ball. I know that Michigan can either start out really hot or really cold, and if you get a cold Michigan team and Auburn starts out hot, that game's probably over in the first 10 minutes. That's gonna be it for my Sweet 16 re-rank. Come back at the end and I'll rank all the teams in the top 25 on where I think at the end of the year. But until the next time, the Bench Buddies are out.